We all know about the soul urn in Deadlock, an objective that spawns in throughout the game with quirky voice lines that never get old.
I'm waiting.
Hello? But just how good of an objective is it? Well, in an effort to find out, I did a lot of research, and I found out that the urn isn't just full of the most annoying voice lines you've ever heard, it's full of secrets that make it a much better and much more interesting objective than you realize. The urn is an objective that spawns at 10 minutes and every 5 minutes after that. Delivering it gives your team a large amount of souls, with the value increasing as the game goes on. When your team delivers an urn, you get half of the souls right away, with the other half being put into soul orbs that can be denied by the enemy team. You might be wondering, if half of the souls go into soul orbs, why does it only say plus 50 when I deny one? Well, that's because your whole team gets plus 50 souls from that orb when it gets denied. This means that whenever you deliver an urn, you should try to stick around to melee a few times to confirm souls. Those orbs are packed with more souls than a clown car. The first urn that spawns at 10 minutes gives 3,000 souls. The second gives 4,150, the third 5,300, and these are the value of the urns that spawn after that. The urn is one of the biggest sources of souls in the game, with the only comparable objective being walkers, which give 4,500 souls to your team when you break one. Now you might be saying, Logic, I knew that already. The value of each urn is on the top. Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm a dumb, stupid little idiot? To which I'd say, no. But here is where some of those secrets I mentioned earlier come in. First of all, you may know that the person who delivered the urn gets 25% extra souls for being the absolute Chad who put up with the voice lines. Interestingly, this gets calculated based off the total share you get from delivering the urn, including the soul orbs. So if you would get 500 souls, you'd get 625 instead, whether or not your team confirmed the part that got put into the orbs. You also get all of these extra souls as soon as you deliver the urn, meaning that none of the 25% bonus goes into the soul orbs to possibly be denied. But the real kicker about this bonus? It's not included in how much the urn says it's worth on the top. That's right, Valve is lying to you. They're using endless voice lines and false numbers to make you think that urn is worse than it is. This is how much each urn is worth with the delivery bonus added in. Starts looking a little nicer, huh? In addition to this, urn will give everyone on your team a golden statue buff and will give the deliverer a skill point. If you don't know, skill points in Deadlock are used to level up your abilities. You need 32 total points to upgrade all your abilities, which normally requires you collecting a total of 47,000 souls. There used to be more ways in the game to get skill points, but thanks to Valve no longer giving them out for breaking walkers or shrines, there's a catastrophic shortage of skilled workers in the Cursed Apple, and people are struggling to get their cursed sinks fixed. Delivering an urn is now the only way to get an extra ability point outside of leveling up from hitting certain soul thresholds. So if you're playing a character that has certain abilities that are really good at max rank, you should prioritize being an urn deliverer. As a Viscous main, I like to get them to max my ult and my splatter faster. Honestly, I don't really play enough characters to give more examples, so let me know in the comments what characters actually utilize these skill points the best. Now, I did want to find out how many souls the golden statue buffs were worth so I could add that to the total value of urns. But that took me down a bit of a rabbit hole. I looked at some of the early game items that have no passives and just give raw stats, like statue buffs. Urns spawn at 10 minutes and golden statues can give these buffs from 10 to 30 minutes. So if you look at how many golden statue stats fit into the stats gained from items, you get about 10 golden statue buffs in both basic magazine and extra health. With this, you can divide how much these items are worth by 10 to find the statue buff soul value. Now this isn't perfect. You tend to get more stats per souls with cheaper items in Deadlock than you do with more expensive ones, even accounting for the passives. So in reality, these buffs are probably closer to like 90 souls each. I did some math based off Titanic magazine, and I calculated the buffs to be worth about 86 souls each. But to get to this number, I had to find out how much spirit resist was worth. And to find that out, I had to subtract the value of health and spirit boost from spirit armor. And to get those values, I had to use the original value I found for the statue buffs. But if this calculation says that the original values of the buffs should be higher, then all the soul values I put on the stats are wrong! It's a paradox! If anyone has a better method for calculating this, please let me know. As you can tell, looking into this has my brain a little bit. For now, I'll just split the difference between my estimates and say that the statue buffs are worth about 75 souls each. So with urns giving 6 statue buffs to your team, we can add that value on top of the delivery bonus to get a more realistic estimate of the value of urns. Not too shabby. And at this point, you might be looking at these numbers and thinking, wow, urn is a better objective than I thought it was. I should like the video and subscribe to this guy right now. To which I'd say, true, you probably should. But what if I told you that there was another final secret about the urn that basically nobody knows about? I'm talking about the urn's comeback mechanic. You might know that one of the mechanics of urn is that if one team has a 10% soul lead over the other when the urn is picked up, the delivery location will be moved towards the losing team to make it easier for them to get. This happens for every urn other than the first one, which always has a neutral drop-off location. But what you might not realize is that the urn has another comeback mechanic, where the team that's behind gets extra souls for delivering it. Now, upon hearing that, you might wonder, how many extra souls do you get? How does that get calculated? How is Logic Defender the most handsome man I have ever seen in my life? And you know what? I had these questions too. So I tried looking into it. But no matter how many places I looked, I couldn't find answers anywhere. Everywhere I looked would talk about the comeback bonus, but never actually get into the details of it. So with an ungodly amount of research, I found out for myself. And what I found was staggering. In this game, when we deliver the first urn, the score is 51,000 to 62,000 souls. Not a huge difference in the grand scheme of things, but the enemy team does have a 22% soul lead. This urn would normally be worth 3,000 souls, but with how far behind we are, when we deliver it, it becomes worth 4,698 souls, making it worth more than a walker. Now, you might assume that because urn puts half of its souls into soul orbs, that half of these extra souls are deniable. Nope. The entirety of the extra souls you get from the comeback mechanic are given to your team as soon as you deliver it, and only the regular amount of souls are put into soul orbs. You might be thinking, that's insane. And you're right, but it gets crazier. Remember how I said that 25% deliverer bonus gets calculated off of your total split from the urn? Well, that includes comeback souls. So the delivery bonus for this urn in this example is 195 souls, making this urn worth a total of 4,893 souls. And that's without adding the golden statue buff values we found earlier. These numbers are insane. And if you want extra examples, here's another first urn delivered where the other team has an 18% lead that gives 4,743 souls, and one with the second urn being delivered giving 6,261 souls off of an 18% lead. It is crazy. The comeback mechanic makes urns so good. To give you some frame of reference, if you took the first example I gave you where the urn is worth 4,893 souls, in order to get that many souls from kills at that point in the game, you would need 9 kills. If you wanted that many souls from Jungle Farm, you'd need to kill 26 of the biggest ones. Now, maybe you're a hyper farming 7 with a lightning ball the size of Texas, but I just don't think you're going to be putting up those numbers. I do wish I could tell you exactly how these comeback souls get calculated, but looking into it has proven really tricky. I think you get an extra percentage of souls from whatever urn you're delivering based off the percentage of the lead the enemy team has on you. But as the enemy gets a bigger lead, it looks like this ratio gets lowered. So you still get more comeback souls the further the enemy team is ahead of you, you just get less bang for your buck, so to speak. This might be to try to disincentivize trying to get really far behind in the early game to make a single urn worth a crazy amount of souls, but I don't know. If anyone has any more information about it, I would love to know. Please, I need help. What I can tell you though, is that in order to get these comeback souls, your team needs to be at least 10% behind the enemy team when the urn gets delivered. This is separate from the urn drop-off location change, which gets determined whenever somebody picks up the urn for the first time after it's spawned. So if you pick up an urn when the enemy is 10% ahead of you and it changes the drop-off, but by the time you actually deliver it, they're only 9% ahead of you, you do not get comeback souls. And even if an urn has a neutral drop-off location, like the first urn, and it gets delivered while you're 10% behind, you do get comeback souls. So how does all of this impact how you should play? Well, first off, if you're behind, urn becomes the best objective in the game. It should be easy to collect with a close drop-off location, and it's incredibly valuable with comeback souls. If you're far enough behind to get a comeback urn, you should be doing everything you can to make sure your team secures it. Meaning run with the deliverer, scout out drop-off location, maybe Ivy ult to get people there faster. Legitimately, whatever you can do to help, you should. That urn is going to give your team way more souls than that juicy, succulent sinner's sacrifice. Cooked to perfection, layered with bacon, and put between 2 fresh buns. Only $6.99. Focus on the urn! Basically, the only scenario where you should do something other than help with the urn is if you're about to take a walker or if you're protecting one of your own. And this might seem confusing. I have spent the whole video showing you how urns can be worth more soul-wise than walkers, and you might think I'm losing it, which is fair. Not only are walkers worth big chunks of souls when you break them, but they also give flex slots, which are pretty invaluable. They also create a lot of map pressure. Just think about how much less safe it is to take a comeback urn when you don't have a walker nearby. In a way, keeping your walkers around makes it easier for you to get urns in the future. For these reasons, I would almost never trade a walker for an urn, especially in early game when they're harder to break. Mid-boss is another objective you can prioritize over urns, but only because the extra pressure you get from taking it should help you collect the urn. If you are doing anything else than dealing with walkers or mid-boss, you should usually drop everything and help your team get an urn delivered. Sure, there will be times where you rush to the delivery location and you're not needed, but it is far better than having your deliverer get ratted by a Bebop or a Haze and giving the urn to the enemy team. Also, with your new knowledge about how good comeback souls are, if you see that your team is close to 10% behind, you should wait until you actually are before you deliver the urn. In order to find out if you're far enough behind for the comeback mechanic, you can take your team's soul count, move the decimal to the left one, and add that number back to your soul count. If that total is less than the enemy team's souls, then you are at least 10% behind. Sometimes that math isn't too bad, but with how good comeback urns are, it would be really nice to have some sort of indicator in either the HUD or on the urn for when you're actually far enough behind to get them. Because I don't want to do math. What do I look like, some nerd that calculates the values of objectives to find out how good they are? The math for comeback urn is also particularly tricky for the first urn, as with both teams having a lower overall total soul count, a couple thousand souls can be the difference between a 9% and a 10% lead. It's also because of this that the first few urns will probably be the ones that you're trying to tip one way or the other for the comeback bonus. If the score is close enough, you can do things like ask your teammates to stall before they get a wave or before they break a guardian before you deliver the urn. This is yet another reason why you should go help your team deliver urns. If it was close enough that you wanted the enemy team to have a slightly bigger lead to get to 10%, then by going to help deliver the urn, you might be stalling out your farm long enough in order for your team to get across that threshold. Of course, with how good comeback urns are, you should not only know how to get them, but how to prevent the enemy from getting them when you're ahead. There's always the strategy of collecting the urn first before the enemy can, and that's great for the first urn that always has a neutral drop-off location. But what about after that? Well, like I said, the drop-off location for the urn is determined when it's first picked up after it spawns, and then it stays like that for the whole duration. So if you see that your team has a lead that's less than 10%, you can pick up the urn and then drop it to guarantee a neutral drop-off. In addition to setting the drop-off, this also makes it so that whenever somebody picks up the urn after that, they get revealed on the map right away, which can make it easier for your team to stop. Another mechanic you can utilize to make comeback urns worse for the enemy is holding an urn when the next one is supposed to spawn. If someone is holding an urn during the time a new one is supposed to spawn, it prevents the new one from spawning in. This means that you can keep a lower value urn on the map. And considering that urn comeback souls are a percentage of what the urn is worth, this could prevent the enemy team from a lot of souls if they delivered the urn. You can also combine this with the previous trick I talked about. If you keep an urn with a neutral drop-off location in the game, the drop-off stays neutral. Of course, by doing all of this, your team wouldn't be getting the urns for yourself either. But let's say that your team got the first urn to solidify their lead. And because of that, the next one was a comeback urn that the enemy could collect easily because the drop-off was close to them. All of a sudden, that first urn isn't looking so hot. In this game, my team has a big enough advantage where the other team would get comeback souls if they delivered the urn. Knowing this, I make sure that the other team can't get them by going for the urn myself. While I'm carrying it, I see that the timer is close to 15 minutes, and the next urn is supposed to spawn. So I stall in delivering the first urn. Because I waited, the 15-minute urn doesn't end up spawning in. If it had, the enemy would have an easy time collecting it with a close drop-off location. And there's no way we'd be less than 10% ahead, especially after getting that urn. So it would be a comeback urn worth extra souls. But because I stopped the second urn from spawning, the enemy team has to wait until the 20-minute urn for a comeback urn. And by then, my team might be in a position where we can fight them in their territory for it. If you wanted to get really crazy with this, urns take turns in which side of the map they spawn in on. So because this first urn spawned in on the right, and I stopped the 15-minute urn from spawning, the next urn is going to spawn in on the left. Knowing that, you could try to break the yellow walker before 20 minutes, because if it's not there, then you'll have more pressure on that side of the map, and your team will have an easier time fighting for that urn. It's kind of nuts how far you can take these concepts. Urn has such a crazy amount of nuance, and it can be tough to apply that to your games. But I think stuff like holding an urn to stop a new one from spawning or trying to get across the comeback threshold is so cool. Imagine a scenario where someone is trying to hold an urn to stop a new one from spawning, and the enemy team is doing everything they can to try and heavy melee them or stun them to make them drop it in time. Like, that's so sick. I think that the urn is the most interesting objective in Deadlock, and I hope that with this video, you have learned how good it actually is. If you have, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.